Hello, everybody. Welcome to review Fast and Furious 7. Furious 7.
That was a weird intro.
I know, I am weird, but yeah. As you can hear, I'm not alone. As you can see, I'm not alone because that boy is in front of his camera, probably smiling right now.
I am. You get. You are looking into my software as we speak, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. But
Yeah.
yeah, Mr. Daniel Flux is here
In the building.
in the building, and he ain't gonna leave.
No, because we
Not
first
yet.
got to do this review before I can leave.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So, Fast and Furious 7, the seventh movie in the franchise, the last movie Paul Walker will ever star in. Yeah, let's start talking about this. So, the movie is set after Fast and Furious 6, and it follows the ending of Fast and Furious 6. Owen Shaw's brother, Deckard Shaw, is out for revenge, and he was trying to kill the crew one by one. That's the premise of the movie. At least that's what we think. That's what you think when you
Yeah.
see the trailers. So we're gonna start off with the positives and then negatives, and then we're gonna do the overall.
Do you just
Opinion.
want to do like we both name a negative and a positive, uh like I name one, then you do.
How about you start off
Okay.
with a positive, and then I do a negative, then I do a
Right.
positive, and then you do a negative.
Okay, that's cool. So one of the things that is quite cool about this movie is that I think this is the best movie in terms of like the variety in action, because what you see in this movie, it's like there's so many different scenes, in terms of fighting, in terms of like explosions, and it's insane. Maybe sometimes a little bit overkill, but we'll touch upon that in a second. I think it's just really cool. You have one scene, they can be fighting with props. Another scene, they can just be fighting with bare hands. It's just all over the place, and I think not only the fighting, but just the chases. There are chases in this movie still. Those are still really good, and I think the Furious 7, or the Fast and Furious movies have always been really good with action-packed scenes. So yeah, that's one of the positives for this movie. I think yeah, the Furious 7 movie in general, action-wise, if you're a big action buff, go see this one because
Yeah.
it's really good for that.
What I want to add to that before I go to my negative point is that the way the fighting scenes were shot were really good, and you can definitely notice that it is being directed by a different guy. Justin Lin was the director of all the previous Fast and Furious, and this movie is directed by James Wan, famous for The Conjuring and Insidious and Saw. I just love the way the fighting scenes were shot, and even the first scene, the way that was shot was really cool. So yeah, props to James Wan for doing such an awesome job with the camera work. Great guy. So now on to my negative point is my negative point is something that has always been in Fast and Furious, but it hasn't. But in this movie, they went they did it too much. Is where they survive like every single thing without a single scratch, and I don't mind it if it's further apart in the movie, but this literally happens 5 minutes after something else happens.
That's
For
correct.
instance, in the trailer, Paul Walker jumps off a moving bus and he catches the back of the car with his hands, and he has perfect grip. And 5 minutes later, Vin Diesel tumbles off a mountain, and he has
No scratches.
no scratches. He doesn't even have like a small like concussion. No, he just walks it
Same
off.
for same for like the character with him. Like
Yeah,
they both
yeah.
have no scratches. Well, they feel a little dizzy, but that's it.
That's
And
it.
they've had way worse in the past and in
Oh
like
yeah.
other scenes. So
Yeah, so it got a little too much for me where like it's not at too far apart from each other. It happened like 6 or 7 times in a movie where uh they they had like a big accident and they had zero scratches whatsoever. It annoyed me a bit, but not too much
no,
for
it's
sure.
it's still Furious 7, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's still Fast and Furious, so you're still expecting some BS to happen.
Yeah, I mean
But
in the past you just had certain uh, certain things happening that were less impactful than tumbling off a mountain with a car, and they would still come off worse than them tumbling off a mountain with a car. So that's a minor thing, but
it's
you
a,
know,
it's a minor thing, but
most of the things are
when you
minor.
yeah, most things are minor because this is a good movie.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. So how about you do one of your negatives and then do I do one of my positives?
Sure. One of my well, not biggest negatives. This is one of the things that sort of makes the movie a little weird. I haven't had this in like any other Fast and Furious movies where just one thing would make the movie a little bit obnoxious at points. Is that Deckard Shaw is obviously being pushed forward as the main villain for the movie, but later on I find that the mission of killing Deckard Shaw, it sort of gets replaced by finding the chip, which will find
Shaw.
Deckard Shaw, and having that chip, they say, well, we can track him everywhere. So he's being portrayed as, oh, this is a shadow, we can't kill him.
Yeah,
And
they even literally say that he's a shadow in the
yeah,
movie, but you don't need to find him because he keeps finding them.
that's another thing. Yeah, but like with the God's Eye,
Hmm.
you just have to like log in, and it's like simple as that. It tracks every camera, and he's found. So that's one thing. I mean, he isn't a shadow, so that's a little bit of a what do you call it? A I can't find the word. So yeah,
A minor.
no, it's like the opposite of what he is. That's what I was trying to find the word for, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like Deckard Shaw, he's being portrayed as being like the main bad guy they're chasing, and I find that the mission later on just sort of confuses itself. Like it goes from the whole crew chasing Deckard Shaw to like not the crew chasing Deckard Shaw. They're chasing
Yeah.
a chip. So he kind of becomes like a prop within the whole movie. It's
It,
maybe a little bit of a strong word, but
well, it becomes just a secondary
yeah.
villain.
Which is cool because you have like two different things at the same time, which
Yeah,
which
yeah,
which makes
but
it like easier to watch and a lot of fun. But
I think people go into this movie wanting to see like a 2.5 2 hour movie of them chasing Jason Statham.
yeah, that's
That's what people came for, and they sort of got it, but not really.
and I think it's actually better with what they did now. I mean, it's like it's sort of a negative, but at the same time, I feel like it makes the movie, like I said, a lot more enjoyable because it's diverse,
Yeah,
and I don't
sure.
think it's very boring or anything like that. So that's I think they did a pretty good job still with
Yeah.
with
S-
Deckard Shaw.
Yeah, and the positive I was going to mention is that this is probably the only Fast and Furious that doesn't have like a boring part in the middle. This movie was consistent with the flow. There was no boring part in the movie. Everything was was stretched out very nicely, very well. All the scenes were good. There were, for instance, in the last couple of movies, there were some boring conversations between Brian and Dom, which led to nothing. Just about just him talking about how much he remembers about his father. Okay, we didn't have that in this movie, and the movie was better. So, it, I thought that every single scene had its purpose,
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
yeah, and that's that's why I like this movie so much. Is because um, it's because
It's very
no,
fluent, right?
yeah,
It's very fluent.
not a single time in the movie, because I did that with every other Fast and Furious. I started checking my phone. I didn't do it with this one.
Yeah, that's a nice change up, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, of course.
it's just a very fluent movie. That's one of the very positive things about it.
Yeah, yeah. Also, a minor, like a really minor negative thing for me is that The Rock is not in it as much, but the scenes that he is in, he is an amazing badass. Let's just keep
Yeah,
it at that.
yeah,
But I wish he was in the movie more. But what the thing that happens to him, you can get why he's not in the movie as much, because he's in the beginning and he's at the end. That's first in the movie. He's out of commission. That's
yeah. I think they had a pretty good reason to keep him a
yeah,
little out of
yeah.
action. Um, but still without The Rock, I think they did a pretty decent job.
Oh
Keeping it
yeah, and I'm
interesting.
not saying that the
No,
movie
no, definitely
is
not. But I think they still did a decent job without him.
probably the next movie. The Rock is gonna be in
Yeah.
it, like the whole time.
And I think what they want to do with this one is maybe because he's been so much into like in the other movies, maybe they want to keep him a little bit behind because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise he becomes like a
Yeah.
must character for the movie, which to me would be fine. But I get maybe why they do it.
For me, he's already like a must character for a movie.
Well, yeah,
I think ever since he showed up in Fast Five, the movies have become
yeah.
better and better.
Five was probably my favorite up to
Yeah.
par with this one.
And it's also because Hobbs is such a cool character, and the way he 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 has his scenes with Dom is just really cool. I don't know. I think Hobbs is a good addition to the Fast and Furious movies, and uh, I think if he were to not be in any of the other Fast and Furious movies, I think the movies would be a little less, cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's one of the guys that really packs a punch in the group. I mean, yeah, Vin Diesel who's pretty much like, a fighting machine, and will do all the heavy heavy fighting. But when it comes to when it comes to Hobbs, I mean, we all know he what he does sometimes is ridiculous but awesome. So one of the negatives I wanted to point out, just to move on from the Hobbs thing. I think, I love Roman. I love Roman Pierce. He's one of my favorite characters from the whole group. I do think for this movie, some of the jokes, not some of the jokes. The jokes are great. I'm not going to get into that, but I do feel like they're forcing it a little bit too much in this movie. A couple too many. Like,
Yeah.
you could just take it down by a little bit. I don't think they had to have
Yeah.
him pop up every now and then to, be ridiculous. But he does it more than in the other movies, which is a little.
Yeah, I mean, they stated before in the other movies that he is the clown of the group, but this time they put so much emphasis on that he is the clown of the group. It got a little too much in some scenes.
Yeah.
But
Minor.
he was at his best in this movie.
Yeah.
He was, but sometimes just a teeny tiny tad too much.
Do we have? Okay, I guess you have another positive.
Yeah, which is the big thing I was worried about that they were going to get wrong, but they did it perfectly. Is that they give Paul Walker a brilliant and a good emotional ending, and it was beautiful. It teared me up when I was at the movies. It was great the way because they already stated before that they weren't going to kill Brian, but the way it ended, it was good. They had a montage of previous clips from the Fast and Furious movies, and then at the end of the screen, before Paul popped up, and some and also a good scene between him and Vin Diesel at the end, which is good, like not really a metaphor, but really philosophical.
Yeah, like no matter for a quarter
Yeah.
mile apart or like
Yeah.
half the world or whatever. I think that's what it was.
What was really beautiful when they had like one last not really a race, but they drove together, and then at the end, Paul Walker's car just takes an exit to the left.
Yeah,
And
that's sort of
and
dark too, right? If you think
it's
about
it's
it.
it's 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 dark, but it also it has something beautiful to
Yeah,
it. That
because on the other hand, you think, well, they're departing from in the movie, but on the other hand, you could think, well, Paul's going to the left, and he is derailing, and
to
he's.
the left, to the left.
You didn't have to sing that.
Sorry, I had to.
Well, yeah. Um, well,
Yeah.
you could see it both ways. I think
No,
I think the ending was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some people that I don't really agree with that, but some people take it, in my opinion, a little too far. Like online, there are plenty of people saying, this is the best movie ever, or this is one of the most emotional movies ever. I mean, to be honest, like it is a very good movie.
Yeah, but it only got
but-
emotional until the end.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And also, Vin Diesel stated that this movie should win an Oscar, and if it doesn't win an Oscar, he doesn't take the award seriously anymore.
I mean, we basically know that movies like Furious 7 usually don't win the Oscars because
But-
that's always been like that. So I don't really.
Yeah, but that doesn't make them bad movies.
No,
I mean,
no, no.
Some of the best movies ever never
He doesn't
got,
need an Oscar
yeah,
because he has so many fans being so
it
well
it is-
responsive to this
it is
movie.
it is the #1 movie right now in box office.
Yeah, it's getting great responses. Like almost
It
everybody
sold
loves it.
384 million. It got $384 million in box office in its first weekend.
Yeah,
That is insane.
that's pretty insane.
That is insane.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty successful already. He doesn't really need an Oscar for it. So.
So to end this off, I had one tiny negative because we've been going for 17 minutes now. So,
Yeah.
I think Dom is getting getting too philosophical sometimes. I mean, it's a minor annoyance, but it's just when they talk, sometimes he always has to say something morally good, and it's like
I think it's partially because obviously Paul Walker has passed away, and I think with that and this new movie, they wanted to put a little bit more emphasis on that as well. So you get that with it, and of course there are some moments. I do agree there are some moments where it's it's not needed, but I don't think it's like. For me, when I was watching it, it didn't bother me. But now that you mention it,
I'm not saying it bothered me, but
Yeah.
he did it just a little too much. And I'm not when it was perfect is when he was talking about Brian at the end, which he was also sort of talking about Paul at the end. That was good. But there were some times in the movie where the scenes were shot before Paul Walker died, and he was super philosophical for no fucking reason.
well, yeah, he
But
sometimes does that.
like I said, minor annoyance.
Yeah.
But let's end this off with our final scores of the movie. How about you start with your final score?
Okay, so like I said, on par with the fifth one, because that one is, I think, in terms of action, that one comes closest. This one, though, I might consider saying it's the best one, but because there are certain things in this movie that bother me that didn't really bother me in the previous ones, I'm just gonna say it's on par. I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I think that's a reasonably good score.
If I were to give it a 7.5, it would be the same as Tokyo Drift. So no. Which you gave Tokyo Drift 7.5 as well.
Yeah. Well, did I? Well,
Yeah.
then 7.5. I think, but Tokyo Drift is a totally different movie. I mean, you can't really compare
Yeah.
it. So
Well, they're both Fast and Furious, but I'm gonna give this movie an 8 since this movie is for me it is the best. It's better than 5 for me actually, when I think about it, because 5 also had some boring moments, and this one didn't have any boring moments. I like this movie. I love Jason Statham as Deckard Shaw, so an 8 for me. Yeah, go see it.
Okay,
It's
go see it.
Go see it.
I mean, you probably have enough time left, but yeah, go go watch this thing.
Go watch it.
It's really good.
It's worth it. It's worth it. All right, so everybody, thank you for joining me, and thank you for Daniel for doing this review with me.
No problem.
Go check out his channel for music-related stuff,
Yes.
and go subscribe to my channel if you want to see more movie things,
That's it.
which is bound to happen since my name is Movie Man Aaron.
It's already happening right now.
It's already happened.
Yeah.
It already happened.
Anyway,
Anyway,
it keeps
guys,
happening.
Anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.